we got to talk
Yeah.
about the Iron Bowl, right? Or
Yep.
as they call it down in the South, the Iron Bowl.
Iron Bowl.
Um, Auburn at Bama. Bama's 11.5 point favorites. It's not been a great couple days here for Alabama and Kalen DeBoer. Alabama as 14-point favorites. Under Kalen DeBoer, 2 losses in 8 games. And under Nick Saban, 3 losses in 139 games. So that right there will get the fans all riled up against you. When a top 10 team scores 3 points or less in their previous game, they're just 18-22 straight up and 14-25 against the spread in their next game over the last 30 years. But the big favorite in the Iron Bowl has usually won this series going back historically. As a favorite of over 10 points, the favorite is 21-1 straight up in this series over the last 50 years. So whether it's Bama or Auburn, you're favored by double digits, you got a really good shot to win this game. Needless to say, this is an extremely, extremely important game for Kalen DeBoer in his 12th game coaching the Crimson Tide.
It's the biggest game he's ever coached in. It's not the national championship game last year.
Yep.
It's bigger than the Pac-12 championship that he played in last year. It is, yeah. I've said it about earlier this week, and I'll say it again. If you think the negativity and all of the just negative everything that's surrounding Alabama this past week and just at different times throughout this year, like you've said, like the Bama fan base has been pretty bipolar this year, and rightfully so.
Team's been bipolar.
It has, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Everything about Alabama this year has been bipolar. They lose at home to a 5-win Auburn team when this Auburn team currently has a ton of momentum in recruiting, which, depending on what side of the fence you're on, if you think recruiting is important or not, Alabama fans and SEC fans believe it's the lifeblood of your program, especially Alabama fans. And Auburn right now is right there with Alabama in recruiting, if not even better at the moment. So you let Alabama lose this game, and you see the negativity that comes out after that towards Kalen DeBoer. The stuff going into the offseason will be so bad, and the optics of it will be awful. So you're right. This is a huge, outside of it just being the Iron Bowl, it's huge for him. So as far as the game goes and the play on the field, I mean, we just saw Jarquez Hunter and what he did in the run game against Texas A&M. I personally think he is the best running back in the SEC. You know, people want to argue that, yeah.
Dylan Sampson has something to argue with that.
That's fine. I think if Jarquez Hunter played in that same offense with Tennessee, he'd be doing the same thing, if not better. And Auburn, out of nowhere in the last few weeks, has really also, they've gotten the passing game going because they've got dudes at receiver, and Lambert Smith and Cam Coleman, the 5-star superstar freshman. They showed up in that A&M game too, in the downfield passing game. The previous game before that against their podunk team that they played, they did the same thing in that game as well. As I like to say, I think they might have found themselves a little bit in that podunk game before they played Texas A&M. And what do we always say against some of these defenses? What gives them trouble is when you have a dual threat quarterback. We saw Jackson Arnold last week rush for over 100 yards against Alabama. So Peyton Thorne's he can move. He's a solid, again, he's not going to run around like Michael Vick or Milroe by any means, speed-wise, but he's good enough with his legs that he can hurt you. So what adjustments has Kane Womack in Alabama made since last week when they let a former walk-on freshman tailback run for over 100 yards and Jackson Arnold run for over 100 yards to be able to stop this Auburn rush attack? And Auburn runs read option type game. That's what they do. Every play is basically that. And so can the defensive backs keep the eye discipline and keep the eye candy can they stay on those receivers? Auburn's going to throw the ball down the field to those big physical receivers. Going to be a lot of 50-50 balls, jump balls thrown down the field. Can Alabama win some of those matchups? On the flip side of that, I'm interested to see what Auburn can do against a legit dual threat quarterback. I I mean, I know they did okay against Marcel Reed, but still, Texas A&M scored plenty and ended up going off.
Mm-hmm.
Does it help Auburn that they played a quarterback like that the previous week before playing Alabama? Maybe. I don't know. We thought that might help LSU playing A&M and then having 2 weeks to prepare, and then Milroe ran for 180-something yards against them. So I think 11.5 is too many. I do. I think this is going. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure you probably haven't, but for anybody listening that's not an Alabama or Auburn fan, the amount of smack that Auburn has, it's almost like Hugh Freeze probably told his team, like, I want you to know it, believe it, think it, act like it, that you think that you're better than this team and that you can go win this game. Walk it and talk it. And they're acting like it. DeMarcus Riddick, 5-star freshman linebacker for Auburn, called out Jalen Milroe, called out Ryan Williams, Cam Coleman, saying the same stuff, talking about how they're going to go in and take over your whatever, like take over your house, come in your house, take it over, whatever type stuff. A lot of that being said. And hey, maybe they do. Alabama's got to do something about it. How does Alabama react when they're not, I guess they're not 100% eliminated from the playoff, but like they're not really in the playoff mix anymore.
Yeah.
How do they react to that? It should be that this is the freaking Iron Bowl. And it's all about just beating Auburn. Who gives a rat's ass about anything else? Is what it should be about.
Yeah, you got to have some pride. You got to have some pride in playing in Bryant-Denny Stadium. I mean, it's very fortunate for them this game's at home. We've seen them on the road this year not play well. I think I read a stat that only I don't know if I can't remember what it was. It was a couple coaches or whatever have, or maybe only 3 Alabama coaches have won their first ever Iron Bowl they played in. Like Nick Saban lost his first one, so it's a tough game to win. But you got it at home. But I mean, yeah, I agree with you. I think the Tide are in trouble Saturday. I mean, I just keep looking back at that last game, of the season last year, where they needed a 4th and 31 to win the game. After Auburn had 3 turnovers in the game to 0 for Alabama, and Auburn completed 6 passes in that game.
Yeah.
In a college football game, they completed 6 passes.
Yeah.
And they were still in it because they ran for 250 yards. So, Hugh Freeze has always had, for some, I guess maybe it could have been Freeze versus Saban, and we'll see what he does against DeBoer. But Hugh Freeze has always had, he's really always given Alabama his best shot.
Yeah, he has. I mean, like dating back to Ole Miss, he always has. I mean, for Alabama too, no Deontay Lawson, which is their green dot linebacker, the quarterback of the defense, team captain. Obviously Jahad Campbell, who's listed as the top middle linebacker in all the NFL draft boards. He's going to have to really step up. They've got a couple solid young guys they can bring in, but again, that's not your team captain, Deontay Lawson. It's not.
Right.
So, I think it's a really close game, and I'm going to pick Alabama to win. Shocker. But I think it is within one possession. And I don't think it'll be pretty. I think it's going to be an absolute slugfest, nasty type game. A beautiful, just good old-fashioned hate rivalry game. And I think Alabama wins this game in really close fashion. But it won't shock me if Auburn goes in there and somehow wins this game. It won't.
Okay. 3:30 on ABC. We're looking forward to it.